But our first speaker up for a quick little talk is Rich Armandi of Phillytown 76. You can see our t-shirts hanging up here, our new semi-quincentennial t-shirts. If you remember, like a year ago, we had a competition. You guys, whoever was here last year that were members, got to vote on the designs. So these were our winning designs. And we're going to raffle these 3 shirts off tonight. So if you did not fill a little slip of paper up here with your name on it, make sure you do that before the end of the night when we do the raffle. Okay, only once. Yeah, we filled one in for you, Dr. Beckton. He's practically Dr. Beckton, right, Mr. Beckton? And he's going to tell you a little bit about what's going on with these t-shirts.
Well, I'd like to first thank Mary Ann. She helped me put together the whole store, the tour guide store that I'll be showing you. There are the 3 designs that were picked. Mary Ann picked the types of shirts, the colors, and the arrangement that you'll see. We have shirts, mugs, stickers, and magnets. So you'll see that, and I'll show you when you go to Phillytown T-shirt Company, you'll come up with the first logo on the home page. If you click on that, that'll take you right to the APT store. And all of the shirts, the different styles of those 3 designs, there's several different designs. Each design has several different types of shirts, unisex shirts, men's shirts, women's shirts, V-necks, regular tees. They're all in here. And then after the shirts, 1, 2, and 3, I call them APT number 1, APT 250, because they're all semi-quincentennial shirts. These are the first version of shirts that are out. Then there's mugs that are available, and then stickers and magnets. So if you scroll down, you can pick any one. The magnets are available in 3 sizes. The stickers are available in 3 sizes. So once you go online and click on the item that you're interested in, you'll get all the information. And then when you go there, there's different color shirts. And when you click on the color, the shirt will change colors. And then when you go to the drop down, when you order it, you order the color you want, the size you want. And then at the very end, when you go to checkout, every member uses a code 700. This is free to all the members, and you get a 20% discount on everything that you buy for your own personal use. And then 5% also goes back to the club. So it's 25%, 20% is your discount. It'll be discounted off the price of the shirt that you pay. And then 5% for all that activity will go back to the association. And the other, so that's the members discount, 20%. And I have brochures if you want to pick them up and take them along. The other option for you is if you want to use the tour guide profit sharing. And that would mean I give you little discount cards that you give to your people that are in your tours. And your number, you'll have a distinct number on here. So you have to sign you up for one of these. You'll get the number. Your clients will then, they can go home, order a shirt, use the discount code that's on here. They get a 5% discount. You get 15%, and the association gets 5%.
Number 77.
Number 77 for the food.
Nobody here has 77?
Check your little ticket. The last 2 numbers, it's 77.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so if there's any questions, come and see me. I'll be here at the meeting at the table. I can explain both. Again, the 700 is for everybody. That's a 25% discount. The profit sharing will be you giving these cards out to your clients so that you can earn 15% on the sale, and the club can, the association could also get 5%. So if you have any questions, just come see me.
All right, so let's give some applause for Rich for putting this lot of effort into making this site for us. It's super detail-oriented work, getting all these things on the website. So next up, we have Charlene Mires. She's going to talk about these books that we're raffling off tonight. The Encyclopedia of Greater Philadelphia has a 3-volume set of books now, hard copy books. So she's going to tell us a little about that. And then at the end of the night, we'll raffle off a complete set of them. And these are up here for you to look at the end of the night if you want to take a look.
Hi, everybody. The tour guides have been such great supporters of the Encyclopedia of Greater Philadelphia project. I want to start just by thanking you all for all that support and partnership over the years. And for that reason, we're bringing you a sneak preview of these books. They're not even officially published yet until October the 21st. So you're getting a first look. And I'm going to give you just a little preview. And I've got one set that I'm going to pass around so you can peruse as you enjoy the program and eat your dinner. We are also bringing you a 20% discount, which you'll find on the flyer that's on the table here. Make sure and take one with you. You can use that yourself. You can pass it on to somebody if you want somebody else to buy these books for you. You can pass them the discount on to them. And for those of you who are on Zoom online tonight, Marianne is also going to put this discount code in the newsletter. So you'll have access to it there. So let me tell you what these books are about. These books are curated from the Digital Encyclopedia of Greater Philadelphia and enhanced. So what that means is after 15 plus years of building topics online, we took a look to see what we had learned. And we took a look to see where we had groups of essays that could form into coherent chapters and to think about what sorts of thematic books we can make from these. They're enhanced in the sense that those chapters are created. They have new introductions. There are new essays in all of these books, as well as pages that I know you're going to like called Explore More, that tell you, give you some tips on where to read more, where to visit, where to explore more in the archives of Philadelphia. So briefly, what we ended up were a Philadelphia in 3 dimensions: the region, the nation, and the world. The region book is the first book we've had that has, where am I supposed to hold this? There's the camera. All right. This is why I don't do television. This is I think the first book we've had that has all of the sections of Philadelphia and all of the counties in the region. So these books have regional scope, and those are in these books, as well as the ways these various counties and municipalities hang together in terms of transportation, in terms of governance. That's all in here. One of my favorite experiences in doing the topics for this book was my personal exploration of the Great Wagon Road. I know some of you know what that is, but I didn't when I started. I traced the Great Wagon Road, and it answered for me a question that I had never known the answer to. And that is, why, during the American Revolution, did the exiled Quakers end up in Winchester, Virginia? That's where the Great Wagon Road goes. So there's an answer to that question. So this is about geography and the development of the region. And I'm going to pass these around after I talk about them. So there we go. Thank you, Steve. Pass that around that way. We brought one set to give away tonight and one set to pass around and look at. So the second book is Greater Philadelphia and the Nation, which I know you're going to have a strong interest in as well. This is a book that begins with sections on the American Revolution. So all of those topics that are important to us as guides in the historic district are in this book. I co-edited this with Gene Sutherland, who you know is one of our region's leading experts in the colonial and revolutionary era. This book then continues to give us the nation's capital, but also Philadelphia as the capital of Black America. And then it continues into topics that show us how civil rights and citizenship were contested and expanded, and Philadelphia's role in that. And I'm not sure we've ever put all these topics together in one set before. And it ends up showing how Philadelphia connects around the nation through media and through popular culture. You're going to find your music in this book. You're going to find your sports in this book. And you're going to find It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia in this book. And finally, we have Greater Philadelphia and the World. We live in such an incredibly diverse region. This is the book that helps explain how and why we got this way. This is the book that covers immigration topics. It covers world religions. I think I saw Dave Kruger come in. Did I see Dave? Dave Kruger has an essay in this book. This is where you get Workshop of the World topics, another nod to Jack, our speaker tonight, and global conflicts are in this book, among many, many other things. So Greater Philadelphia and the world. As you can see, as we're passing around, these books are a legacy project, really, for the Encyclopedia Project after all these years. They're so beautiful. They're well illustrated. We hope that they'll be useful to all of you and to people across the region. So we're bringing you the discount tonight to encourage you to use them and to call attention to them and to help us spread the word as we launch these books officially on October 21st. If you have any groups that you belong to that you want to do some kind of a partnership with this book project, we're happy to do that. And there'll be some other events coming up that I'll make sure and let Marianne know about for the newsletter. So you have to stick around to the end of the meeting, because we'll have a drawing and we'll give away the complete set of 3 books to some lucky person in this room tonight. And the flyers with the 20% discount code are up here. And if we run out of those, that will be in the newsletter as well. All right. Good. So shall I? Yes.
And I just want to say that she mentioned that David Kruger from the Dialogue Institute, who's one of our members, they're a corporate member, he has an essay in these books. We also had Josh Silver had an essay in the online version, and Vance Lehmkuhl also had an essay in the online version. Didn't make it into the books, but still pretty impressive. And while we're on the subject of Vance here, the purple T-shirt up there is Vance's design. So he is multi-talented. We're really lucky to have him in APT. So just wanted to throw that out there. And now let's give a round of applause for our T-shirt. The other designers are Carla Stine. Carla did the Star and Stripe one. She's not here tonight. And Daiv Barrios did the one with the skyline one. And now Charlene is going to introduce our main speaker.
And Marianne reminds me to say that Vance's excellent essay and others are still living in the digital Encyclopedia of Greater Philadelphia. It's my great hope that as we call attention to these books, we're also going to energize the next phase of content development in those books, in the online encyclopedia, and perhaps there'll be more books to come. So we're definitely not closing the door on the value of this project. So it's my honor tonight to introduce the speaker, who is one of the prolific contributors to the Encyclopedia of Greater Philadelphia, who's represented in these books as well. I think a lot of you know Jack McCarthy. He is an archivist, a historian, and a certified tour guide. Yes, who we're recruiting back into APT. We're trying, right? He has a number of projects in the works. You probably know he's an expert in industrial history and music history, as well as history of Northeast Philadelphia. He has new books coming out on music and on the Mann Music Center in particular, as well as another in print on Philadelphia manufacturing. So watch for his Mann Music Center book to come out next month and for some events related to that. So Jack is here tonight to talk about his current project, which is the Poquessing Trail of History that he's doing with the Preservation Alliance for Greater Philadelphia. So it's my great honor to introduce Jack McCarthy.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Charlene. And it's great actually to be back here. I was pretty active in the Association of Philadelphia Tour Guides about 10 years ago. As Charlene mentioned, I got certified and I spoke maybe 3 or 4 times to this group, but that was about 10 years ago. So I think it is time for me to re-up and get back involved. So this computer just went dark. Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, so we're doing kind of a computer tag team here. I'm looking at this one and giving a nod to Vance, is it?
Stephen.
I'm sorry, Stephen, to change the slides. Some of you in the far back, I don't know that you're going to be able to really see. So you might want to come up and take a closer seat because you're going to miss a lot of the visuals. But anyway, so I am directing a project for Preservation Alliance for Greater Philadelphia that focuses on an area of the city that doesn't get a lot of attention in the historical narrative, that's largely neglected, but has a really, really rich history. And this project is a way to highlight that history and bring it alive. Do we have the slide up there? We have a little technical difficulty here. I guess while they're working on that, I do focus on 3 areas of Philadelphia history. Music. Philadelphia music is really my main passion. I was the archivist for the Philadelphia Orchestra for a number of years, for the Mann Music Center still, the Philadelphia Jazz Legacy Project. Are we good? Okay. All right, enough about me then. So I was just trying to fill some time. So anyway, so this project is the Poquessing Trail of History, and we have the tagline, the land, the people, the stories. And it highlights the rich history of the Byberry area of Philadelphia, which we're going to talk about in some detail in a minute, by activating 4 sites or potential historic sites in that area through historic restoration and through public programming. So again, it's sponsored by the Preservation Alliance for Greater Philadelphia. That's who I work for. And it's funded by the Pew Center for Arts and Heritage and the Philadelphia Funder Collaborative for the semiquincentennial. Both of those funders are supporting the project, but we're seeking additional funding for some of the bricks and mortar part of the project that I'll talk about. There's a team of 3 of us that work on the project. I'm the director, our project coordinator, Ashlyn Pentecost Farron, and our project supervisor, Jennifer Robinson. We all, again, work for Preservation Alliance. And then we have a team of, a group of institutional stakeholders. And I won't go through them all, but they're all organizations that have a vested interest in the sites that we're trying to activate in this project. So we have this tagline, where will the trail take you? And it's both a physical trail, but it's also an intellectual journey through the history of these sites. So as I mentioned, there are 4 historic sites that we're going to activate, recreate, restore. The Benjamin Rush House, and I'll go through this sort of tragic saga of that. So Benjamin Rush, the great, founding father, signer of the Declaration of Independence, he was born in a house in Byberry in 1745. That house got demolished in the 1960s, but the stones were saved, and we have the plans for the house. We're going to try to reconstruct it with the stones from the original house, not totally reconstruct it, build a representation of it. On the grounds of Benjamin Rush State Park, which was created in 1975 in Byberry. We're going to create a memorial to the area's original inhabitants, the Lenape, who were here for thousands of years before the Europeans. There is a Byberry Township African-American burial ground that was created by Byberry Friends Meeting, the Quaker meeting, in 1780. It was actively used for freed blacks and people of color, and then it was discontinued in the mid-19th century, largely abandoned and forgotten. Been some effort in recent years to honor it and restore it. We're going to restore that and make it part of this trail of history. And then there's Byberry Hall. built in 1847 by the great Black abolitionist Robert Purvis and others. And it was built specifically to host anti-slavery, abolition meetings and other social issues of the day. That's still standing on the grounds of Byberry Friends Meeting. So that's another of the sites. So we're taking these 4 sites. Byberry Hall and the burial ground are there and existing. We just are going to restore them and open them to the public. The other 2, the Benjamin Rush House, we're going to recreate, and then we're going to create a memorial to the Lenape. So these 4 sites, existing or potential, we're going to knit into a trail of history. And there is a Poquessing Trail that already exists. We're just going to sort of layer a historical component to that trail. Next slide. So if you can see on the slide here, the area we're talking about, Byberry, is in the far northeastern corner of Philadelphia, right up there, right on the edge of Bucks County. The Poquessing Creek is the northern border of Philadelphia with Bucks County. Next. And this is a detail of that area. The solid curvy white line is the Poquessing Creek. And then there's if you can see, there's a dotted line that sort of follows the course of the creek. That's the Poquessing Trail. That's a public trail. Part of it's on state park land, part of it's on Philadelphia Parks and Recreation land. So there is this trail that follows the course of the creek. We are, again, creating a trail of history that is going to more or less follow this trail that exists. And 2 of the sites, as I said, we're going to recreate within Benjamin Rush State Park. The burial ground is on the edge of the park, but getting incorporated into the park, the state park, and then Byberry Hall is a little ways away. So a little bit about Byberry. That's it, you know, in the circle there in the upper part of this map of Philadelphia. So again, the Lenape originally were the original inhabitants, and some estimates are that they were here for like 16,000 years before the Europeans. I've heard different estimates. They say 16,000 years, and we defer to them. They are involved in the project, and we defer to them on all the history. We want them to tell their own story, not us to tell them their history. And like most of this area, the whole greater Philadelphia area, it began to be settled by the Dutch and the Swedes and the English in the 1630s. And then, of course, William Penn gets his grant for Pennsylvania. So starting in 1682, 1683, there's more intensive English Quaker development of the Byberry area. Byberry, and by the way, there is a village in England called Byberry, spelled B-I-B, and the settlers many of them were from that area, so they called the area after their ancestral homelands in England, Byberry, but spelled with a Y. The spelling got changed over the years. And Byberry Friends Meeting, the Quaker Meeting, was established in 1683 and became a very important institution in the area. It was primarily a Quaker area through the mid-19th century. It got incorporated as a township within the county of Philadelphia in 1792, and then incorporated into the city in the 1854 city-county consolidation, which I'm sure you know about. It was largely a rural, sort of agricultural community until the mid-20th century, the post-World War II period, and then it just experienced explosive growth. So what were all farms and villages and open space became housing developments and shopping centers and roads and all. So, you know, it just underwent a dramatic transformation after the Second World War. Next slide. For many people, the name Byberry conjures up the Byberry State Hospital, longtime residents of Philadelphia. So it's officially was called the Philadelphia State Hospital at Byberry, opened in 1907, closed in 1990. It has this horrendous history, you know, of abuse of it was a psychiatric institute for, for people with mental issues. And it was horrific conditions that, caused it and many other places like it to be closed. So for many people, they think Byberry, they think of that, and it's a shame. It's less than 100 years of the history, but for a lot of people, mention it has nothing to do with our project, but just have to mention it. Next. So we're going to start, we're going to do this in chronological order. I'm going to go through the 4 sites that we're going to highlight, and starting with Lenape, because they were the first. So they lived in the Delaware Valley, again, some people say 10,000 years, some say 16,000. They were known as the grandfathers. I mean, that's the name that they have taken for themselves, that the Lenape translates to. Other people have said it means the people, but they say the grandfathers. They were known as that because they were the original sort of native tribes that many of the other native tribes viewed as the real ancestors, the real original people. They had mostly peaceful relations with the Dutch and the Swedes and the English, and when the Europeans began settling in the 17th century, and then beginning in 1682, they had pretty warm and cordial relations with William Penn when he established Pennsylvania. He was very fair and equitable in his dealings with the Indians, unlike his sons. I'm sure you all know about the walking purchase and all that, but while Penn was alive, and of course he wasn't in Philadelphia that long, but so then well, I'll talk next slide. They're part of this broader indigenous group that has familial bonds and similar dialects with this group that stretches from southern New York down to northern Delaware, and they speak this Unami dialect. And the Lenape that we know inhabited southern New Jersey, eastern Pennsylvania, and northern Delaware. They call that land Lenape Hoking, which means Lenape homeland, and the river they call Lenape Winnetook, which the English later named the Delaware River. So they were inhabiting this area along and around the river, and then all the creeks and streams that fed into the river, they would establish villages, and they would hunt and fish and farm, practice their crafts and ceremonies and traditions. One of those creeks was the Poquessing Creek. And of course, there's this famous by Benjamin West of the treaty with the Indians. It's unlikely that this actually ever happened, and of course, if it did, it didn't look anything like this. Benjamin West painted this in England almost 100 years later. So, but the painting has really become symbolic and traditional in both the Lenape and the European cultures. So it's important as an artifact, but it's not really factual. But what is, next slide, what is documented is this deed from the Pennsylvania State Archives, June 23rd, 1683, two Lenape sachems, I never know how to pronounce that, the chiefs, Tamanend, sort of pretty well known, another one, sold to William Penn all the land between the Neshaminy Creek and the Pennypack Creek. Next slide. And on this map, you can see the Neshaminy Creek is up in Bucks County. It's the major creek above Philadelphia. The Poquessing Creek is then the border between Philadelphia and Bucks County, and then south of that is the Pennypack Creek. So between the Neshaminy and Pennypack Creek is the Poquessing watershed. That's the area that they sold to William Penn in 1683. It's documented, right? Here's a transcription of the deed. I'm not going to read it. It's interesting. At the bottom, it says Indians present. In addition to the two who signed it, there were a number of other Lenape sachems there. So it was, a well-documented transaction. So they were, Lenape were mostly forced out of the Philadelphia area by the early 18th century, and then mostly out of Pennsylvania in the years following. And they undertook this long, torturous, violent, often 130-year journey westward. They would settle somewhere and then get uprooted and forced to leave, settle somewhere else, do it again. And so that process went on for over 100 years. They eventually, most of them settled in Oklahoma and some in other states. And the Delaware tribe of Indians, next slide, is based in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. They're one of 3 federally recognized Lenape tribes in the United States. And they are the real keepers of the culture and the traditions. They moved westward and preserved their language and traditions and cultures every time they moved. And now they're settled permanently in Oklahoma. And this is where they're very active. They have, large community. They have all kinds of organizations and institutions and financial institutions. And they don't have a casino. They're not one of the tribes that does that. But they are the Lenape representatives on our project. As I mentioned, we have stakeholders with vested interests. So the Delaware Tribe of Indians from Oklahoma, it does have some logistical challenges having, one of your main stakeholders be in Oklahoma, but they are representing the Lenape in this project, and we rely on them a lot for their expertise and their knowledge and their, just their institutional memory. So that's the one site. We're going to build some kind of memorial. We're working with them on what that will look like. Maybe it'll be a teepee, or maybe it'll be something else. We don't know yet. The next site in chronological order is the Benjamin Rush birthplace. Next slide, please. This is a rendering of it. But the house was built in circa 1690 by Rush's great-great-grandfather, who came over with William Penn, and Rush was born there in 1745. And of course, Benjamin Rush, a key founding father, a signer of the Declaration of Independence, father of American psychiatry, advocate for abolition of slavery and free education for all, public health, penal reform. He's a renowned physician and faculty member of the University of Pennsylvania, founder of Dickinson College, the Medical College of Philadelphia, and lots of other institutions. So he's a real key founding father and kind of got passed over, forgotten in the narrative, with George Washington and Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson and John Adams. He's kind of the forgotten guy, but he was integral to all of it and best friends with all of them. Well, not Washington, but that's a whole other story. So, yeah, it was his great-great-grandfather, John Rush, an English Quaker who settled with his family in 1683. William Penn granted John Rush 250 acres in 1684, and then sometime around 1690, they built the house in which Benjamin was born in 1745. He only lived there a few years. The family moved back into the city when he was about 4 or 5. So he, spent his early years there, but didn't spend most of his life there. But he had a real attachment to the place. He wrote a letter to a Byberry resident in 1792, and he said, "Byberry afforded the first retreat to my ancestors who fled from religious tyranny with William Penn to Pennsylvania. It was the place where I drew my first breath. It has been, and I hope will always be, dear to me on that account." So he had a real affection. And then he, later in life, like a year before he died, he visited his home, his birthplace home. And he was very moved by the experience, and he wrote a letter to John Adams, his very good friend, detailing this sort of emotional visit. And in that letter, he said he tried to convince the owner of the house to sell it to him, but the owner didn't want to sell, and And then Rush said, well, if you ever do want to sell, give me first choice on it. But then Rush died the following year. So that was like 18, I think he died in 1813. Anyway, the place had a real emotional significance to him. You probably, in the back, you can't see, but this is an 1849 map. And in the middle there, you can see it says Perry, and then just to the right of that it says Benjamin Rush's place of birth. So that is a map showing where the house was in 1849. It stayed in the Rush family until 1765, and then it went into the Perry family, and it stayed in the Perry family for almost 200 years. So the house had a lot of sort of longevity as far as its occupants. Here's a view of it in the early 20th century. There was a pretty detailed survey of it by the Historical American Building Survey. Next slide. Now, as I mentioned before, there was massive development of that whole area in the years following World War II. So the Corman Corporation is one of the major developers of Northeast Philadelphia. All those endless row homes in the Northeast, Corman did most of them. So Corman bought this large tract of land that included the site of the Rush House in 1965 and began work on a townhouse complex that it called Rushwood. The company worked with city and state officials to try to preserve the house and open it as a historic site, historic house museum. But as we will see, that didn't work out. But the efforts really went pretty far. On the left here, you see the city says it's giving money for the acquisition and restoration of the house. On the right, it says the state okays $34,000 to buy the house. This is in the 1960s. So there was this concerted effort to preserve this house in the midst of all this development. And then, oh, by the way, the architectural firm that was hired to do the restoration plans was John Milner, who many of you know is one of the renowned architects, preservation architects. His firm is still in existence. He's like, I think 90 something, mostly retired, but still somewhat active in his firm. We hired John Milner Architects to develop the reconstruction plans for the house. So there's a kind of a symmetry there. But John Milner called it one of his great regrets in his long career that this house, there was all these efforts to demolish it, to restore it and save it, and then the city suddenly demolished it without warning in February of 1969. The official story was they got the wrong address. But in actuality, the real story came out later. It had become an attractive nuisance. Kids were breaking in, arson. It was dangerous. And the city, Ellen and I said, we're going to demolish it. But the official story was that, because the house was on the historic register, but the historical commission gave Ellen and I the wrong address because there was so much development in the area that the historical commission had an old address that didn't factor in all the new roads and houses, but that was not true. So anyway, the house was demolished. And the local community and the preservation community were outraged. And then an effort began to reconstruct the house, save all the materials, and reconstruct it on the grounds of that Byberry State Hospital that I mentioned. So that's about 3 miles away on the corner of Roosevelt Boulevard and Southampton Road, a very prominent intersection. And of course, it's a state mental institution, and it was. And Benjamin Rush was the father of American psychiatry, so they thought it was most appropriate that they rebuild the house on the grounds of the hospital. Here is a clipping from the Enquirer. Byberry is standing guard over the Rush House rubble. So the staff from the state hospital went to the site and started rescuing the stones and the architectural features, and then they had these plans to rebuild it right at that major intersection on the boulevard. And there, for years, and I remember this having growing up in the 70s in this area, there was this big billboard on the corner at the boulevard. It says, "The Benjamin Rush House will be erected on this plot of land." I mean, it was a major effort, but it fell through. Here is the townhouse development on the site of the original Rush House, about 3 miles away from where they wanted to rebuild it. And there's a historical marker there. It's, for anybody that knows the Northeast, it's on the edge of the Morrell Park neighborhood of the Northeast. So that was in the 60s and early 70s. In 1975, the state created Benjamin Rush State Park on the boulevard, with part of the site encompassing what was the Byberry Mental Hospital. They took some of the grounds and created Benjamin Rush State Park. And the stones from the house were on this plot of land that became now Benjamin Rush State Park. And local people knew about the stones and their significance, and they began to come and take them. So the state park moved the stones to Fort Washington State Park to save them. Long story short, we have them back, and we're going to try to use them to reconstruct the house. So the Benjamin Rush State Park was created in 1975. In the early 2000s, it underwent a dramatic upgrade and renovation, and they brought the stones back and incorporated them into 2 columns at the entrance to the park. So this is a photo of one of the columns at the state park, and it's made from the stones of the Rush House. So if we get the funding, we're going to knock those columns down and replace them and use those stones to build a representation of the house. And working with John Milner Architects, we came up, there are not enough stones to actually redo the house, and nor does the state park want to have like an enclosed structure that it has to take care of, but an open-ended structure, not unlike the President's House, right, at 6th and Market, or Franklin Court, right, an architectural outline based on the dimensions. So this is what John Milner Architects came up with. We're going to use those stones plus some additional stones we're going to have, and build this sort of representation. And it's going to have interpretive signage and all that. We're raising money for this part of it. We don't have the funding for this yet, but we got all the plans and everything. Okay. Next comes the Byberry Township African American Bar, which was created in 1780 in the midst of the Revolutionary War. Currently, it's just this anonymous, nondescript little abandoned plot of land, an eighth of an acre. Prior to 1780, enslaved blacks, that were living in the world, usually on the properties of their owners. The records state that some of the historical accounts say there were about 40 or 50 also buried on this one Quaker, local Quakers' land. But on January 19th, 1780, Thomas Townsend, a member of Byberry Quaker meeting, deeded to the meeting a small plot of land that to be dedicated for, and it says, the deed says, the use of the burial place for all free Negroes within the limits of Byberry particular meeting. In later years, that as the deed went from trustee to trustee within the meeting, the language got changed to all free Negroes or people of color. And what was happening here is, as you all may know, in 1780, Pennsylvania passed a law for the gradual abolition of slavery. And the Quakers, who dominated the Byberry area, realized that there's going to be a lot of free blacks in the area, and they don't want them buried with their own people, right? So they created a separate little cemetery for them. Here is a survey. This is from the Friends Historical Library at Swarthmore. One of the local Quakers did a survey of the ground. They call it the Negro burial ground. And here's a, I don't know if you can see it too well. This is detail from an 1843 map. Sort of on the middle left is the intersection where Bible Falls Road is. And if you follow the road all the way to the right on the edge of the creek, of the Poquessing Creek, is this burial ground that was created. It's interesting, we don't have the names of anybody who's buried there. There's no records. But there's one source that says the burial, it's a book that was published in the 1860s. It says, the burying place for the blacks, the record says the first person buried there was Jim, a Negro belonging to Daniel Walton. And on the right here is a 1767 tax return of Barbary, and it's the Daniel Walton taxable property, and it says one Negro. So Daniel Walton had a slave in 1760.
Wow, what took so long?
The first person in this new burial ground was a slave that was owned by Daniel Walton. So we think that this entry in this tax record is the first person buried, but there's no way to prove that conclusively. But again, there is no record of who all was buried there or how many are buried there. Here's some more things from the Friends Historical Library at Swarthmore. In the 1840s, the minutes of a Quaker meeting saying we're going to do some improvements to the burial ground. And then in later years, in this book that was published in 1867, the graveyard for colored persons situated in the western part of Berkeley is still kept for that purpose. Some years since, a portion of this yard was plowed up, and most of the so the exact spot where this race will be seen. So over time, it was sort of plowed over and forgotten. And this is what it looks like today. Again, it's a very nondescript, unkempt, overgrown plot of land. We're hoping, actually, we'll have the funds, I'll talk about that in a minute, to renovate, restore, and honor it. I don't know if you can see, but this is a map of the state park, and on the right is a little marker. The burial ground is literally on the edge of the state park, not in the state park, technically, literally a couple of feet outside of it. But it's a long story about the owner, which is technically still the Byberry meeting, has deeded it to the state, and it's going to be officially incorporated into the state park. So literally there's a path like this, state park ends, the burial ground begins, and now that's all going to be incorporated in and become part of the state park. Here's some views. This is like actually standing in the burial ground, looking up a pathway in the state park. Again, very nondescript, sort of overgrown area. In 2015, a local researcher had the burial ground put on the city historic register. And then in 2024, a new organization called the Society to Preserve Philadelphia African American Assets took the burial ground under its sort of guidance and initiated efforts to restore and preserve it. Working with Preservation Alliance, SPA, the Society for the Preservation of Philadelphia African American Assets, developed a preservation plan, and they got some funding to do this planning. Nothing happened with that plan. There were some activities where SPA and Preservation Alliance did some activities to honor the burial ground. There was a couple of them. There were cleanups and different ceremonies, a libation ceremony. And then when we got funding for the Poquessing Trail of History project, we incorporated the burial ground into that project. So now it's one of the 4 sites that we're going to restore. And of the 4 sites, we only have so far raised funding for 1 site, and it's the burial ground. We engaged a black-lead landscape architectural firm to design plans to make it like a memorial, and we applied for funding and got the funding to do that from the Philadelphia Funder Collaborative for the semiquincentennial. So this is some copies of the plans for the burial ground. I'm sorry, where are you on Library Township? Yeah. All right, and then the next one with 2 pages of design?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next one?
We're back at the board stores.
I'm sorry. No, okay, well,
I'm at the plans right now. I'm at
yeah, that's it. Okay, so those are just some samples of the plans that they've developed. SPA, the Society for the Preservation of African American Assets, had a lot of input on these. So we're going to try to move ahead with this 1 bricks and mortar phase. We're still trying to raise the bricks and mortar funding for the other 4 sites, but this one is ready to move ahead. Although the Bureau of State Parks, which is under the DCNR, the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, they don't like our plans a whole lot. And they are now the stewards, or about to be the stewards of the land. And so we have to have some serious negotiations with them. Their view is things should not be dramatically altered. Historic sites should remain, as they were and not be completely changed. And so we have to battle with them on realizing these plans. A lot of, Black institutions had input on these plans. So we're hoping to, change their minds. We're literally about to do those negotiations with them, but the money's there. So. All right, last and not least is the Byberry Hall, 1847. Again, 4 sites near or along the Poquessing Trail. Here's a view of Byberry Hall from 1805 and a view of it current. So Robert Purvis, many of you may know of him. He born in South Carolina to a very wealthy white cotton broker and a mother of African descent. He could have easily, he was very light-skinned, could have easily passed for white, but he chose not to. He chose to embrace his African-American heritage and, worked tirelessly for his people. Very wealthy, well-educated, articulate, charismatic. At 21 years old, he married Harriet Fortin, the daughter of James Fortin, the great, Philadelphia sailmaker. And they had a number of children, and he was very active in the Philadelphia Black community, in the Underground Railroad, and very involved in the 1838 Pennsylvania Hall, incident, I guess, for lack of a better word. But then, here he is. Founding member of the American Anti-Slavery Society, did a fundraising speaking tour of England in 1834 to the Pennsylvania Abolition Society in 1842, the first Black member, president of that PA Anti-Slavery Society in the 1840s, president of the Vigilance Society of Philadelphia, which was the main operator of the Underground Railroad. And he in his lifetime estimated that he helped over 9,000 freedom seekers to freedom. I'm running a little late into him, so I'm going to skip some of this. Harry and Robert Purvis?
Yep, Harry Robert.
Okay.
Yep.
So again, he married the daughter of James Fortin, thank you. And they were involved in the burning of Pennsylvania Hall. There is one story that the white mob got incensed seeing a white man escorting a Black woman into the hall when it turned out that it was Robert Purvis and his wife. But he was so light-skinned that he was often mistaken for white. And then they were living at 9th and Lombard in the 1840s, and it was, the Lombard Street riots that they've come to be called, a racial mob, attacking blacks and black institutions. And Robert Purvis and his family were really in danger. So shortly after that, he bought a large tract of land in Byberry, which is like 14 miles out of the city, very rural area then. And purchased like 50 plus acres on one side of Byberry Road and 50 some acres on the other side, and moved his family to Byberry. A lot of the historical narrative says that he did that to escape danger for he and his family. But some of the folks from the 1838 Black Metropolis Project that you may know, they contend that Purvis realized that he could be much more effective being an Underground Railroad operative in a remote rural part of Philadelphia County rather than in the city where he would be very visible and watched all the time. So maybe he did escape for safety reasons. Maybe he did it to be more effective operative, and maybe a little of both. But whatever. In 1844, he moved to Byberry. This is a map of that area. And then Purvis, I have a tax record. Yeah. So there's a tax record in the Byberry Library. Robert Purvis, and this is an 1853 tax assessment. Robert Purvis is the 15th wealthiest man in Byberry Township. One of only 4 residents to have a gold lever watch. And he became like a gentleman farmer. You got gentleman farmer up there? You're like intuitive, man. There's the next slide, gentleman farmer. There's a lot of statistics. He owned a lot of land. He was very wealthy and very shrewd investor in real estate and loans and whatnot. Also bred a lot of prize-winning livestock, cattle and horses, and and where he moved was right across the street from Byberry Quaker Meeting, literally across the street. And he became involved. He never became a Quaker, but he became involved in the Quaker community there. And the meeting, of course, had been established in 1683, so it had been there for quite a long time. The meeting established a number of sort of educational and literary organizations. They established the Byberry Library Company in 1794. They established the Byberry Philosophical Society in 1829. These are the exact rural equivalents of APS and LCP, Library Company of Philadelphia, American Philosophical. They were doing the same thing a little later. But Purvis was a member of these organizations, active member. We have the books from Byberry Library Company. They're still there at Byberry Quaker Meeting. The circulation records for the library company are at Swarthmore. These are Robert Purvis's circulation records from the 1850s and 60s. We know what books he checked out. We know what he was reading in the 1850s and 60s. We're doing a whole program around this as part of the project I'll talk about. So here's some photos of the actual Byberry Library books. They're still there. This library company dates to the 1790s. Here's Harriet Purvis signing in. She signed in as a visitor to the library company. And then Purvis, as I said, was active in these institutions. He was an active member of the Byberry Philosophical Society. Here are the minutes from 1855. He delivered a lecture on education, the minutes say. And he wrote a poem, it says. And then this one, which we don't know what the content of his talk was, but he delivered a lecture on the intellectual condition of the colored race in 1856. So, love to see the text of what he read, but we don't have all we have are the minutes of what, what transpired, not the actual content. So again, he was very active in all these institutions. And And in 1846-47, he and a couple of other local guys formed the trustees of Byberry Hall and had the hall built. And the deed, which is at the Friends Historical Library, states that so he sold, Purvis and his wife sold a small plot of land to this new trustees of Byberry Hall. And Purvis and two other guys were the trustees. So Purvis is selling land to trustees that he was a member of. And the deed says, the land said trustees for the purpose of having a hall erected thereon to be dedicated to free discussion, to be independent of an untrampled sector party, to subserve the interest or caprice of no bigot, dogmatist, or tone, fullest and freest sense to give ample scope and full field for the utterance of free speech. So, you know, Purvis and his wife were involved in the Pennsylvania Hall. So maybe they felt like, let's try to do something similar. I mean, you know, here in Byberry, and that's what happened. So here's some records. The meetings at Byberry Hall were reported on in the Pennsylvania Freeman, the abolition newspaper. And there's all these reports, I won't read them all, about the different meetings and reports on the hall. But it became a well-known abolition center. You know, Lucretia Mott spoke there, and all kinds of abolitionists, William Lloyd Garrison, they all spoke there. A really, what's the word, emotional meeting happened on October 18th of 1850. Congress had just passed the Fugitive Slave Law, which required people, even in free states, to turn in escapees, right? So this was like a monstrous law. A bunch of people gathered in Byberry Hall not long after, had a very sort of emotional meeting, and 38 of them signed a resolution, signed citizens in the township of to further consider what course we should pursue in relation to the atrocious fugitive recently passed by Congress, resolved that we will disregard the monstrous and requirements of said bill, subversive of the principles of Christianity, the laws of God, and our common humanity. So these people all went on record resolving to disobey that law. October 18th, 2025, a couple of weeks, is the 175th anniversary of this meeting. We're having a program kind of recreating that meeting at Byberry. Byberry Hall itself is not ready for public use yet, but the meeting, the Quaker Meeting House right next door, which is even older, it dates to 1808, we're going to have an event there. We're going to have a lantern making workshop, because lanterns were very important for escapees, right? Making their way. So we have this Underground Railroad walker and historian, Ken Johnston, is going to lead a lantern making workshop. Everybody's going to make lanterns. Then we're going to read this resolution and have people stand up and say, represent some of the signees and say, I am John Townsend and I signed this petition. And then we're going to parade through the Byberry Meeting Cemetery, where some of the signees are buried, and honor them with this lantern parade through. So that's happening on October 18th. That's a week and a half from now, whatever. All our programs are free. I have literature here. You're all welcome to come. Yep. I don't know why I keep hitting here. Not letting me advance. Oh, maybe hit escape. Oh, okay. There it goes. I don't know what happened there. Okay. Anyway, I have some information on Purvis's later years. And then what happened to his property, which all got developed. But the Byberry Hall was owned by the trustees of Byberry Hall, which they established in the 1840s. Up until 1980, the trustees disbanded, and transferred ownership of Byberry Hall to the Quaker Meeting. So it's on the Quaker Meeting property and owned by the Quaker Meeting. And they have invested a lot of effort in getting grants to restore it and make it a public meeting place and local history center. So it's one of the 4 sites on our Trail of History. For a long time, it was rented out to a martial arts studio. And then that studio went out of business in the 2021. And since then, the meeting has been raising money to restore the hall. We had a dedication at Byberry Hall. A state marker is there in 2014. We found descendants of Robert Purvis in New York, and they came down. So anyway, those are the 4 sites, right? A memorial to the Lenape, a restoring or recreating the Benjamin Rush birthplace house, restoring the Byberry Township African American, restoring Byberry Hall. And these 4 sites, again, we are knitting into this trail of history. Now, there's 2 components to the project. There's programming and historical interpretation. All of that is fully funded by Pew and the Funder Collaborative. The bricks and mortar part, we're still trying to raise money for. I mentioned that the restoration of the burial ground, we have the funding for, but the restoration of the other sites, we're still trying to find the funding. And I'm on programming. There's a list of programs. Anyway, so we've already had a couple of programs, public programs, are all free and open to the public. The next one I mentioned is this program we're calling In Light of Freedom. That's the one where everybody's going to build lanterns, and we're going to reenact that reading of that resolution in 1850 to condemn the fugitive slave law, and then we're going to parade through the cemetery with the lanterns and honor the signees. Then on November 15th, I mentioned we're doing a program called What Was Purvis Reading? As I said, we know what books he was reading. We located 100 of them, close to 100 of them. We're doing a whole program around that, his reading habits, Black literary societies, Black library companies, Robert Purvis's role in Byberry, and we're going to have some interactive features in there. And then the books that he actually held in his hands and read are going to be out for people to hold in their hands and read. We have a lot of really cool programs coming up. This is a flyer for the fall programs, 2 of which we've already had and 2 of which I mentioned are coming up. Then we have a whole series of programs in the spring that are going to honor Benjamin Rush and the Black Burial Ground, and those are all in the planning stage. So this is up. Yeah, that you're like clairvoyant or something. So this is the flyer that's up on the screen. Now, how to stay in touch with us. Our website, poquessingtrailofhistory.org. If you scan this QR code, it'll take you to sign up for our newsletter. So we have a mailing list. If you get on the mailing list, you'll get notices of all our events. We have the website. We have Facebook. All our events and activities are on Facebook. And then we have an Instagram account. So these are all the ways that we're keeping the public engaged in our programming and informed of what we're doing. Again, everything is free. We do require people to register so we know how many are coming. And then there's a $5 materials fee for the lantern workshop, just because we have to buy a bunch of materials. But other than that, there's no charge for anything. And that's it. That's the Poquessing Trail of History project. This is a project brochure. We want information, and this is the flyer for the upcoming programs. So should I pass these around, or you want to?
Jack,
Yeah, Joe.
did the Campbell AME Church have any connections with the graveyard? I mean, they're both in the, what I call the Northeast, maybe they didn't.
Well,
call
you know,
it.
Campbell is in Frankfurt, which is the lowest part of the Northeast, and Byberry is in the far Northeast. So they're pretty far separated. I know, you know, all the Campbell people. They're not involved in this project. Who's involved is, as I mentioned, SPA, the Society for the Preservation of Philadelphia African
And that
American
lady
Assets.
just died too, right?
Yeah,
So-
Deborah Gary, the founder and leading force behind that organization, died, but new people have stepped up and are taking over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hannah?
No, Hannah was involved with Preservation Alliance for a while, but doesn't work there anymore. But she was involved in the early stages of this, right? yeah.
Not to be too greedy, but in the Philadelphia Directory of Deaths, don't we find people? Oh, I'm not loud enough. Oh, in the
Let the man speak.
in the Philadelphia Directory of Deaths, we find references to that graveyard.
No,
None.
these were anonymous, you know, disenfranchised, enslaved people, or formerly enslaved people. We have no idea who, I mean, in the tax records and all, it'll say how many slaves somebody owned, never names them. So we really don't know,
So,
other than that one guy named Jim, we don't know who is buried in the, and if records exist, we haven't found them yet.
but you are familiar with the Philadelphia Registry of Death, right?
Yeah, but these people weren't really,
Dead.
no, they weren't sort of at the level to be included in such a registry, you know? They were just anonymous enslaved people way out in the far northeast part of the city.
They're still burying them after the Civil War, right?
I don't know, somewhere in the mid 19th century, whether it was after the Civil War or before that they stopped, I don't know, because there's no real record that says when they stopped. Around the Civil War, not long after that, there was no activity there. Yeah. 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 What? Oh, anybody else have a question? No? Yes, sir. They can't hear you on Zoom.
The question I had was, were there any archaeologists engaged in doing assessments at this?
A group from Penn has done ground penetrating radar on the burial ground, but the site was so disturbed that they couldn't get they found some indications that, you know, there are things underground, but the ground had been so disturbed that they weren't really, so we have to go back and maybe do some excavations at some point. That team at Penn is willing to do that. We have to engage with them because, again, it was like over a century of overgrowth and, you know, neglect. And then no real archaeology. I mean, we probably, there could be a dig where the Benjamin Rush House originally was, because the foundation was just buried over. So that's in the far northeast. But there's really no pressing need for that. I mean, it's just in the middle of a housing development. What we want to do is use the stones to, you know, construct this facade type. And we have one of the best architectural historical firms in the business to do that. Yeah, so. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Who has the mic?
Hello, hi. I'm Gigi. That was an awesome presentation.
Are you Didi?
Gigi.
Gigi?
Yes.
Oh, I know you. Yeah, yeah.
One of the things that I am interested in knowing, I was doing a little bit reading about Harriet and Robert Purvis when they moved to Byberry, and they did lose, I believe, 2 sons. Right? Is it the colored one? Is it?
Okay, so good question. By the time Robert Purvis had moved to Byberry, that black burial ground, that remote black burial, kind of was not being used that much. Plus, Purvis was a sort of wealthy, prominent person. He wouldn't have buried his children in a potter's field. And even though he wasn't a member of the Byberry meeting, 2 of Purvis's, Robert and Harriet Purvis's sons died in their 20s when they were living at Byberry. and they're buried in the Byberry Cemetery. When we do that lantern parade, I would say, we're going to their sites too to honor them. Robert James and Robert Jr., I think, are the two. Yeah. Well, I use the word Potter's Field kind of loosely. It was privately owned, so it wasn't like a public city Potter's Field, but it functioned as a Potter's Field. When somebody died, they just buried them there with no stones, no cemetery. There was no record kept. So it kind of was like a Potter's Field in practice, but technically it was owned by the meeting.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Mhm. Okay.
Let's give him a nice warm thank you. Can you hang around for a few minutes? Sure. So he's going to hang around for a few minutes. So if you have more questions. So next, we're just going to award our newly certified guides who took the exam and passed. So we're very happy to welcome them. Judy, where'd Judy go? Judy Bingaman. And then Gigi McGraw. And then we're just going to get a photo of the two of them. So we have posed nicely with their certificates up there. Thank you, guys. Thank you. And now, if Jack wouldn't mind, maybe you can pull some names out of the hat for our raffle. Now, first, let's make sure, did everybody put their name on a little slip of paper and put it in the hat for the raffle? I put one in for you, Mr. Beckton. You're good. Right? Everybody's good? Everybody have put their name on? Okay. So this first one, this will be for the set of books. Mackenzie Hall, our newest member, well, newest young member.
Kind of heavy.
And Charlene has a bag, so if you need a bag, I'll carry it. But wait up here because we're going to get all our winners. We'll get a photo. So this is a set, the Encyclopedia of Greater Philadelphia has a 3-volume set, so a hard copy set now with 3 books. So he won a set of all 3 books. And now we're going to raffle off our 3 t-shirts up here on top. So we'll start with this first one with the skyline. That was the one done by Daiv Barrios. All right, we have Joanna Ward. She gets a t-shirt. Woo! Another new member. See? So you can take it. Oh, yeah. She got it. Congratulations. Now we'll have our next one. So the Stars and Stripes, this was Carla Stine's design. Mr. Joe Beckton. There you go. And if you guys want to trade amongst yourselves, if you want different sizes, they're all different sizes. And then the last one is Vance Lehmkuhl's design. We'll see if Vance wins. That would be funny. Oh, you gave me a blank one. Pam Covey. Woo! Very exciting. So you guys, if you want to, discuss amongst yourselves if the sizes don't work or whatever. And then,
I forgot to mention something we've done. Yeah. Is that? I believe you asked, would it be possible to take a tour of the Poquessing Trail of History. And as I mentioned, most of the sites aren't ready yet. We're hoping by, this time a year from now, the sites will all be restored and ready. So in some future date, tours will be available. We're also building a virtual online version of the tour, and that'll unveil sometime next year.
All right, can we get you guys who won the t-shirts just come up for a minute with Mackenzie, and we'll get a photo of all of you with all the raffle winners. So maybe you go over and sit by Mr. Beckton so he doesn't have to get up.
How do you want to just do it over here?
Yeah, just do it over there. Why don't Joanna and Pam, you guys can sit in front there. Just don't block them. Can you stand? Maybe if you stand, then these guys could sit and then we'll be able to see you all. Yeah, and kind of hold your t-shirts. Yeah, hold your t-shirts up.
Yeah, you can explain here.
So we're just taking a photo for you people on Zoom that can't see. I like that purple one. Yes. All right. So some quick announcements. First of all, tomorrow, I don't think Wendy's here, is she? No. Tomorrow, October 9th, I think it starts at 6:30 at Christ Church. Our own Wendy Stanley is giving a presentation at Christ Church on Elizabeth Graham. So read about that in the newsletter. Go see her tomorrow. Support her. October 17th, if any of you were newly certified in the last 2 years and you got the invite from me, the people that are newly certified, we do a special event every year. So if you pass the certification exam, another reason to pass it, you get to go on a special event. So make sure you answer the email I sent if you're coming or not. The deadline to respond is October 10th, just so we have a head count. October 21st, next Tuesday, is the coffee break at the Visitor Center, 10 a.m. The 23rd, this is not in the newsletter yet, but those of you who are interested in advocacy for Independence National Historical Park, for the integrity of the representation at the park and being against revising history and things like that, we're going to do some training on advocacy. So I'll put that in the newsletter, but we're planning it for the 23rd. I'm not sure yet at what time. It's a training video that we're all going to get together here and watch. But Hip, who's the manager here, has to let me know. They have a big group coming that day, so he has to let me know what time it's going to work. But probably sometime between 5, either it'll be 5 or 7 probably, because they have a big group at 6. October 25th, it's a Saturday. We're doing our next teach-in. I'm calling it a teach-in because we didn't really figure out yet exactly what to call it. We call it Truth Talks last time, and people thought we were proselytizing. So, so we're changing the title. Now we were wearing signs, and it was, yeah. So we pushed some people away before we even got to tell them our message. But so we're, first time, so we're rebranding a little bit. But the 25th, we need more volunteers, and all you got to do is stand outside, especially, hopefully by then it'll be open again. I don't know what's going to happen. But it's really great to talk about the sites and tell some underrepresented stories, mostly Black history, but you could also tell women's history, LGBTQ, whatever kind of underrepresented stories that people probably don't know already. So we need a bunch more people for that. It's just volunteer. 1 to 4 on October 25th. I'll put that in the newsletter. Well, it's been in the newsletter, but it'll still be in there. November 6th, really exciting. We're going to do a webinar on social media marketing. This guy in Chicago who's a tour guide, he's had great success marketing himself using Instagram. He has 40,000 followers, and he gets great numbers on his tours that he advertises through this medium. So just trying to teach us a little more before 2026 gets here so we can really make the most of the business opportunities, right, of all the people coming in 2026. More than usually come. Maybe not as many as we thought originally, but at least more than normally come, right? And then our training program will be somewhere in the 13th through 16th, where I should have the schedule out of the next newsletter. And really exciting, if any of you went to the NFTGA conference in January, there was a speaker on accessibility in tourism. And he does a training program. So you can get certified as like an accessible tour guide. So I don't know what he calls it, but it's a program. So he's going to do a session the first week in December. So he'll sort of talk about the program, give a little bit of an overview, and then he'll give us a discount to sign up for the program to do the training. It's like an hour, self-guided, do it on your own time kind of training, but a nice certification to kind of add to your resume. So I think that'll be cool. Yeah, I have lanyards here. If there's any of the new members that don't have a lanyard, I have some. We have the handouts from Jack up here. If you want, I don't know where the books went. The books are over here. If you want to look at the books that Charlene brought. And then there's discount coupons from Campos and Sammy Somi up there if you want those, and some APT business cards. So if you want to write your info on the back, if you want to hand them out on tour and things, we have some business cards. Anybody? Oh, I think Pam wanted to share something. And if anyone else wants to share, you can come up and then talk after Pam.
Very quickly, and in the last, not this newsletter, but the last one, Marianne had sent out a list of 5 suggested book titles for November. I've gotten 4 responses, and each one is for a different book. Well, it makes me feel good. It means they're all good choices. But please take a look and vote. You can reach me. I'm the secretary. You can reach me on the EPT or the APT email in the Contact Us section on the website and vote for a book. Someone said they would leave it to me. My inclination would be American Nations because it describes different characteristics like, Puritan New England, the Mid-Atlantic, the Scots-Irish of Appalachia, the Southern culture. And it does a lot to explain where we are today. If I don't get a majority, that's going to be the book. If I get any kind of a majority for another book, I'll put it in. So please check those out and go on the Contact Us in the website to the email, because I'm the secretary. I read all the emails. Thanks.
Hi, everybody. Gigi again. I just have 2 quick announcements to make. One is about Mount Lawn Cemetery, which is not technically in Philadelphia, but it's on the border, Southwest Philadelphia and Darby Township. This cemetery is important because it is an African-American cemetery where a lot of trailblazers, educators who lived in Philadelphia are buried. Cecil B. Moore, of course, my mind just went blank as soon as I was going to list all these people, but really great people. Addie B. Jefferson Graham, she was a writer during the Harlem Renaissance, friends with W.E.B. Du Bois. County Cullen wrote a poem about her. Anyway, just wonderful people there. And they have illegal dumping. They have people leaving abandoned cars. They had vandalism about 7 years ago where someone went into the crematorium and there were cremains still there and they threw them all about. It's a little bit better now, but I am going to have a centennial celebration. I'll tell you this really quick story because I know we don't have that much time. I was walking around doing a walking tour. I did a walking tour and something drew my attention, and I looked and I saw a headstone and it said first interment. And so the cemetery didn't even know. And it was October 2nd of 1925 was the first burial that they had there. And I said, Mount Lawn is 100 years old. You should have a celebration. They said, oh, okay. So I'm going to have a centennial celebration on Veterans Day. And I hope that you can come out or tell people about it. And then the last thing that I want to say really quickly is that I'm also looking to get young adults and high school students into sort of a land stewardship thing where they can help clean up, but also learn about the people there, and also a docent program for adults 25 and older who would like to help digitize. They still have records of people buried in a vault. They have to put it on the computer. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Hi, I have 30 seconds. I'm your treasurer, so thank you for everyone that's already done the early bird sign up. please do so. It's only $40. We try to keep the budget nice and tight, so the prices haven't gone up. My other hat is I'm the social media content creator. So I'd like to not be the only one that likes my posts. So if you are already on Facebook, you are already familiar with Instagram, please follow Philly Guides Association. We're on Instagram and Facebook. Follow one, follow the other. The content's the same. But if you can follow us and just like some of my posts, not every single one, just one a week, that'd be great. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Two quick things. One, Homecoming 250th, whole week next week. I'm doing Navy and Marine tours. If you're interested, I can do that. And Saturday from 10 to 3, oh yes, with my straw hat. From 10 to 3, the place where I work at called Harriton House in Bryn Mawr, we are honoring the Lenape and the French and Indian War from 10 to 3. It's called Treaty of Easton Day. We're going to have Lenape demonstrators. We're going to have demonstrators and reenactors who do African-American interpretive history. And you also get to see me as young George Washington during the French and Indian War. So 10 to 3. It's a different costume. All right. Thank you.
Cool. Anybody else have anything? Oh, yes. Please make sure you sign the attendance list. Pam took it? Oh, no. It's up here. Stephen had it to do the Zoom people. Yeah. It's right up here. So if you did not sign in, please check your name off that you're here. Thank you, Zoom people, for checking in and joining us. And thank you, everybody.